Then it's an art form to create masterful connection and questions. But once I've done that, then and only then would I set an appointment for coffee. I also preface everything if I'm in a networking event under Connectology pillar. I immediately tell people, hey, look, this is not the place for the movie. This is the place for the preview. So what I want to do is I want to spend a couple of minutes and then I want to let you get on your way, because if it's a meaningful conversation, I think it deserves more than this. So can we set up some time to meet later in the week?
Wow.
That was excellent. You were talking about conversations for the first time. I remember the first time I met Cheri. Do you want me to tell the story? She was in a phone booth at a little hangout that we both frequented, and I walked up to the phone booth.
What is that?
That's dating a lot of stuff there, yes. And I walked up to the phone booth and I kind of leaned up against it, facing her as she's hanging up from talking to her kids, and I said, well, if you want out of the phone booth, you got to have a dance with me.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm not a dancer, but he is, because that's what I used to watch. When we would go there, we'd watch him dance. But yeah, there's just some fun stuff there. But and I remember the very first time that we actually heard you. It was over in St. Pete at Sandra
D. Robinson's event. Yeah.
Her event, the Charismatic Camera. Mm-hmm. And I remember you'd singled out Richard, and if I remember correctly, the question was, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go, and who would you take with you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when he responded and everything, and it just really developed, you guys just started to have that conversation. But I remember the trick question you asked him after you had that little conversation. And of course, this is in front of the whole room, but he goes, so how long have you and your wife been married? He couldn't answer that one.
Right.
I don't think in that line.
Put him on the spot there. But it was just so genuine. And you did that to everyone you met that weekend. And I watched. We watched.
That leads to one of the next level pillars for Connectology as well, and that is that a good question begets a better question. So if you want depth, you're going to have to start somewhere. If you're ever getting shut down or somebody's holding a fence up, it's because you're asking a question that you don't have the relationship currency to ask. It would be the equivalent of me walking up to a stranger in a room and walking up to a beautiful lady and saying, hello, would you like to have sex? I'm probably going to get slapped. At the very least, I'm going to get shunned.
You're lucky you asked for the dance, Richard. Okay.
But if a husband and wife, if one of them asks that, it's a different question because the relationship currency is different. So if I walked up to somebody and says, so how long have you been married, it would be kind of off-put. It would be a little bit awkward about that. But if I asked you, so who would you take with you, and you said, my wife, for me then to say, how long have you been married, is perfectly within line. It's in sequence. And unfortunately, most times, people are asking questions that are out of sequence, and they don't understand that they're asking questions that they don't have the relationship currency for. And if you're a salesperson, which we all are, and you're asking people to make a decision and they're saying no, more often than not, it's because, one, you don't have the relationship currency for the question you're asking, and the answer will always be no.
Mm-hmm. And that just, to me, I'm hearing that, and it's a step that I teach in social media marketing. You have to build that know, like, and trust even on your social sites, because a lot of these individuals you're not meeting face to face. That's why you don't want to sell it. They're not selling tools or relationship marketing tools. You really want to build that relationship and the credibility and the influence so that you do have that, as you called it, the relationship currency, so that then you can take it to that next step.
Right.
Very, very good. Very well said. And all of this, this has all been ingrained in me, but I realize we get out of habit, if it's not being, if we don't listen to this, or if we're not mentoring or coaching with people. How can people get in touch with you, Bob, if they want to learn how they too can learn more about connecting?
Yeah, they can go to everythingnextlevel.com is the website. They can shoot an email to bob@everythingnextlevel.com, or they can call 949-542-6398. And we can set up I'll be more than happy to offer a free 20-minute strategy session with anyone that just wants to pick my brain for 15, 20 minutes. and I promise I'll give you some great value.
Fantastic. And for our listeners, I'll make sure that this gets up on our So Social Radio Show Facebook page. I'll add it to our SoSocialRadioShow.com page that has a lot of information there about our guest, and much more information about him than even I shared at the beginning of the show today. But I'll put all this information up there. I also have up there how you can connect with him on LinkedIn, his Facebook business page, as well as Twitter. Definitely have a conversation with Bob. He hangs with the right people. You do. We've had the honor of really experiencing the people that you hang with, your influence and your influential friends. Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very blessed. I have some great friends like you guys, and I consider myself very blessed that I do have a great association with some great people.
And you certainly do. So let's get back on this failure thing. You had mentioned that there's failure, and then there's a process that's going on in the middle of that. Of course, we never want to hit the F word there, but if we're sensing failure, what do we do? How do we back out of it?
Well, I think first you have to understand that word failure and whether people really want to say that or not. I mean, I know a lot of people that refuse to say it, and they call it feedback. Tony Robbins calls it feedback. I'm not afraid of the word failure. I think that if I tried to do something and it didn't work, yes, I got feedback, but I got the feedback through the failure and through not being able to do it. And I'm perfectly okay with that. It doesn't bother me a bit. If it really messes with somebody's psychology, then maybe they need to create a different word. It doesn't mess with my psychology, but I think when we look at failure, we have to have measurable steps. And most people don't have measurable steps, so we don't see the failure coming until we've already failed. I think that's a first step. If we've gotten some measurable steps, we probably see some of the failure coming, and we can make some of the adjustments. But if we've set an unrealistic or unhealthy expectation, and one of the next level pillars is unfulfilled expectations will always lead to anger, bitterness, resentment, frustration, and overwhelm. Unfulfilled expectations will lead to anger, bitterness, resentment, frustration, and overwhelm. The reason that's so important is because when we look at failure, when you look at anything that you're angry about or you're frustrated about or you're overwhelmed by, anytime you have one of those feelings, just look and say, what was the expectation I was expecting that did not get met? And that's a better way of looking at failure. It's the feedback that you're getting from a certain event or a certain experience. How do you avoid that? I think, one, it's to realize what it is that you're really striving for. Is it a healthy expectation that you're asking for? And do you have the means to do it? For example, I talk about this a lot of times where people will say, Bob, I want a Ferrari, I want a Ferrari. Now, they're not saying Ferrari. They're saying, I want XYZ, I want XYZ. I want a Ferrari, I want a Ferrari, I want a Ferrari. But I'm only going to be willing to pay $5,000. Well, you need to either change your expectation of what you want, or you're going to have to change your commitment level of what you're willing to give. And most people fall into that pattern where they've got unhealthy expectations, and so they go to the dealership, they can't buy the Ferrari, they get upset. Well, they need to look at their expectation. Is it measurable? What can they do to adjust the expectation or adjust their commitment level to getting the expectation? And a lot of times when we set goals, we haven't done that. We haven't taken stock. We don't really know what it's going to cost. And so you guys know in Mastering Your Inner Game, the first pillar of Mastering Your Inner Game is commitment. Mm-hmm. What does commitment look like, feel like, taste like to you? And then when you have something that you don't achieve, then you say, does my commitment level look like that picture that I have of commitment? I think we showed Rick and Dick Hoyt, the father and son, running across the finish line and doing things like that. I had the picture of Jesus Christ hanging on a cross. That was a huge thing for me. If my level of commitment does not match that, then chances are I'm probably not going to be able to expect the kind of results that I'm asking for. So I need to change my level of expectation or my level of input.
I don't know what to say after that. But to say you were spot on is so diminished in the emotional statement that came with you on that. But it's just, yeah, you just, as they say, you just got to take the leap and hope your parachute will open. But we all know it will at some point in time.
And as Steve Harvey says, if you don't jump, your parachute won't open. Right?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm a big believer on taking the leap, but I'm also a big believer in counting the cost.
Yes.
I don't believe it's wise to go build an apartment building or build a house even without counting the cost, what it's going to take, the workmanship, the hours, the time, the products, all. I believe in counting the cost. So have a healthy expectation. Know what it is. Is it healthy? Can it be achieved? And then I'm a big believer that once you've done the homework and once you've done that, then you'd be willing to take the leap and grow the wings on the way down. But so I don't think you have to know. You don't have to have all your talents and skills before you take the leap. But I have a lot of people who say, Bob, I'm going to take that course when I get more money. Bob, I'm going to join your coaching program when I get more money. And I always say, what would you tell me if I told you that I'm going to start going to the gym once I get a six-pack?
Wow, there's a visual for you.
And that's what a lot of people are doing. I want the six-pack before I go to the gym. I want to have a lot of money before I start giving any away. The process of giving can start with $1. So forget the having a lot of money. When I get a lot of money, I'll give a lot of money away. That doesn't work that way typically. You tend to start giving before you've got the money.
So true.
Before you have a lot of money. You tend to go to the gym before you have the six-pack. And so I always tell people, look, do you go to the gym to get the six-pack? Or do you get the six-pack to go to the gym? Go to the gym to get the six-pack. Then join the program, join the course, take Richard and Cheri's membership program, and get involved in what they're teaching you about social media. Do that now, and your process and your passport to greater income is on the other side of that. Don't put the cart before the horse.
That's so well said, because it is taking action, and I know that we have taken action, and it has taken me more so than Richard. Richard is a bigger risk taker. I really do analyze everything. I think it comes from coming from a family of numbers, people that are in the number business, accountings. But I always realize taking action is what's going to help me move forward. If I don't take action and believe and trust, it isn't like taking every penny I have and go do it. But I know that through the years, had we not invested in the coaching experiences that we've had, again, with you and your program and, and the coach that I'm working with right now, and mentors, I'm now mentoring people because I've learned from some of the best people how to mentor, the importance of mentoring and giving and, and that type of thing. So I really, truly understand that philosophy, and that took a lot of growing up for me in my professional life, so that I could become better in my business.
Sure.
It hasn't always been easy. In fact,
not at all. Not easy. Definitely not easy.
One of the I think this is also one of your pillars in the next level program, is that whatever becomes acceptable becomes inevitable.
Yeah, the law of acceptability. It's a law. It just works that way. Whatever you make acceptable becomes inevitable, and most people don't even realize where they're making it acceptable. Somebody will come to me about weight loss. Somebody will come to me about poor relationships. Somebody will come to me about business acumen, what's happening in their businesses. And I'll say, whatever becomes acceptable becomes inevitable. And they'll say, well, okay, it sounds good. What does that mean? I said, well, when did it become acceptable to be overweight? When did it become acceptable to have a bad business partner? When did it become acceptable to be in an abusive relationship? Whatever it is. And they always come back with the same question, the same answer. Never. It's never been acceptable. But here's the thing. There's always a moment of acceptability. For somebody who's gaining weight and losing weight, gaining weight, and they're not able to lose it, I would say the moment of acceptability, think back to the moment that you put some pants on that were a little tight, and did you wear them anyways, or did you take them off, put them away, and you reach for a looser pair of pants? Most people reach for the looser pair of pants. What that tells me is that was the moment of acceptability, because the next day they didn't walk in reaching for a tight pair of pants again. They reached in knowing that a pair of pants that they were going to try on was going to be loose-fitting because they didn't want to be uncomfortable. So they said, well, Bob, what am I supposed to do, wear pants that are uncomfortable? I said, absolutely. The more uncomfortable, the better. Because what's going to happen is you're going to start feeling the pain of that all day long, you'll probably make different decisions. You'll probably walk a little bit further. You'll probably take the stairs instead of the elevator. You'll probably eat less at lunch.